Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Abdul Basit. I hope that everything is going well. At the end of this video, you will be able to learn the biography of Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift was one of the most important writers of 18th century and he has written a lot of satirical works. In fact, he is a satirist and he has written a lot of satirical works that reflect the image of the society that he lived in. Here we are basically concerned with his one of the most important works that is also a satirical work, Gulliver's Travel. We are basically concerned with Gulliver's Travels, so that is why it is very crucial for us to know the biography of Jonathan Swift so that we may be able to understand this literary work of Jonathan Swift in a better way. So let's get started. Jonathan Swift was an Irish author and satirist, best known for writing Gulliver's Travels. He was Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. Born on November 30, 1667. So Jonathan Swift was born on November 30, 1667. He was an Irish author, clergyman and satirist. Jonathan Swift grew up fatherless. Under the care of his uncle, he received a bachelor's degree from Trinity College and then worked as a statesman's assistant. Eventually, he became Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. Most of his writings were published under pseudonyms. It means that he used a pen name. He didn't use his real name for most of his writings. He is best remembered for his 1726 book Gulliver's Travels. His father, an attorney also named Jonathan Swift, died just 2 months before he arrived. Well, Swift's father had also the name Jonathan Swift and he died 2 months before the birth of Jonathan Swift. Without steady income, his mother struggled to provide for her newborn. Moreover, Swift was a sickly child. Because of the financial problems, his mother handed over him to his uncle Godwin Swift, who enrolled his nephew in the Kilkenny Grammar School, which was perhaps the best school in Ireland at the time. At age 14, Swift commenced his undergraduate studies at Trinity College in Dublin. In 1686, he received a Bachelor of Arts degree and went on to pursue a master's. Not long into his research, huge unrest broke out in Ireland. The King of Ireland, England, and Scotland was soon to be overthrown. What became known as the Glorious Revolution of 1688 spurred Swift to move to England and start anew. So it is very notable here that Jonathan Swift lived through a glorious revolution that emerged in 1688, and in this revolution the King of Scotland, Ireland and England was to be overthrown. His mother found a secretary position for him under the revered English statesman Sir William Temple. For 10 years, Swift worked in Surrey's Moor Park and acted as an assistant to Temple, helping him with political errands and also in the researching and publishing of his own essays and memoirs. Temple was impressed by Swift's abilities and after a time entrusted him with sensitive and important tasks. During his Moor Park years, Swift met the daughter of Temple's housekeeper, a girl just 8 years old named Esther Johnson. When they first met, she was 15 years Swift's junior, but despite the age gap, they would become lovers for the rest of their lives. When she was a child, he acted as her mentor and tutor and gave her the nickname Stella. When she was of age, they maintained a close but ambiguous relationship which lasted until Johnson's death. It was rumored that they married in 1716 and that Swift kept a lock of Johnson's hair in his possession at all times. During his decade of work for Temple, Swift returned to Ireland twice. On a trip in 1695, he took all necessary requirements to become an ordained priest in the Anglican tradition. Under Temple's influence, he also began to write first short essays and then a manuscript for a later book. Here is the list of his major satirical works. His major satirical works comprise A Tale of a Tub, The Battle of the Books, Gulliver's Travels, that is the most important and famous book of Jonathan Swift, and it was published in 1726. Other than these satirical works, Swift has written many pamphlets and poems as well. So it means that Swift was a poet other than a novelist and a satirist. When the Tories came into power in 1710, they asked him to become editor of the Examiner, their official paper. After a time, he became fully immersed in the political landscape and began writing some of the most cutting and well-known political pamphlets of the day, including The Conduct of the Allies, An Attack on the Whigs. Privy to the inner circle of Tory government, Swift laid out his private thoughts and feelings in a stream of letters to his beloved Stella. They would later be published as the Journal to Stella. In 1713, he was appointed the Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. While leading his congregation at St. Patrick's, Swift began to write what would become his best-known work. In 1726, at last, finished with the manuscript, he traveled to London and benefited from the help of several friends who anonymously published it as Travels into Several Remote Nations of the World in 4 parts by Lemuel Gulliver, first a surgeon and then a captain of several ships, also known more simply as Gulliver's Travels. So this was the title of Gulliver's Travel. Well, that was a long title, therefore that was replaced by a simple title, Gulliver's Travels. The book was an immediate success and hasn't been out of print since its first run. Interestingly, much of the storyline points to historical events that Swift had lived through years prior during intense political turmoil. Well, there was a great political turmoil during Jonathan Swift's life. Therefore, he reflects all those political turmoils in his novels, in his writings, and he satirizes the politicians, he satirizes the judiciary system and all the political, social and economic institutions of England at that time. Not long after the celebration of this work, Swift's longtime love, Esther Johnson, fell ill. She died in January 1728. her life's end moved Swift to write the death of Mrs. Johnson. Shortly after her death, a stream of Swift's other friends also died, including John Gay and John Arbuthnot. Swift, always bolstered by the people around him, was now quite troubled. In 1742, Swift suffered from a stroke and lost the ability to speak. On October 19, 1745, Jonathan Swift died. He was laid to rest next to Esther Johnson inside Dublin's St. Patrick's Cathedral. So this was the short biography of Jonathan Swift. He was born in 1667 and he died in 1745. In his life he wrote a great number of satirical works. He was basically a satirist who presented a clear picture of society in a beautiful way. So I hope that you have learned something from this video. If it is so, please hit the like button, and if you are not one of my subscribers, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more interesting and informative videos. Thank you very much for watching the video. Bye bye. Take care.